Guys, it is officially sweatshirt season. I, like so many others, fell into the trap of Fourth Wing. I read every book that's come out so far, absolutely tore through Onyx Storm, loved every book, loved just the entire plot line, loved the chemistry between the characters, loved the character development. Cannot get enough of that world. Just love disappearing into that atmosphere. Love the dragons, love the little bit of like just fantasy elements. So while I patiently, not so patiently, wait for the next book to come out, I have decided to enter my fantasy era. And what better time to do that than during the fall? The leaves are turning, finally has dropped below 70 degrees this week. So can't wait to get into some fantasy reads, maybe potentially some like dark academia, maybe some mystery, maybe some thriller vibes. Regardless, I want to hit all the fall reads. I'm going to enter my fantasy era. So just went to the bookstore. I will insert some clips next. But let's get into a little book haul of what I got, a little TBR for this week. So first up, we have The Courting of Bristol Keats. I started this one actually last week. I'm gonna set that on the ground where it's nice and safe. But anyway, started it last week. This was after starting a different fantasy book that ended up DNFing. Wasn't a huge fan. It was more young adult, and I was just kind of looking for something with a little bit of a more mature writing style. So really loving The Courting of Bristol Keats. Curious to see kind of where it's going to go, where it's going to end up. There's definitely some Fae elements so far, so curious about that one. Not super familiar with the Fae, but it's kind of like setting it up well, taking me through it nice and slowly. So definitely a good read so far. Excited to keep going with it. I just realized I'm looking over my stack of books. I ended up getting 2 books by the same author. So that is very curious. Really love the cover art. Um, Curious about these ones. They are The Witches of Bone Hill and The Bane Witch, both by Ava Morgyn. Honestly, The Bane Witch was the first one to catch my attention just because it was in the uh like new releases section of the library. So, caught that one first, honestly. Excited for it. Read, as I typically do, the first chapter to kind of get sense of reading style. And obviously I liked it because then I read the first sentence of The Witches of Bone Hill. Also enjoyed the writing style. So I think these ones will be good. I'm hoping that these ones are going to be a little bit quicker than the next ones I got, because the next ones I got are kind of hefty. Don't know if it's because they're hardback, but look a little bit longer. So kind of curious to see how much I'm going to be able to read this week, how much I'm going to get through. But hang with me, we're going to make it through. But super excited for these ones by Ava Morgyn. Next up, once again, got one that I really liked the cover. It looked very fall, very dark. It is Silver Elite by Dani Fancis. Genuinely have no idea anything about this book, but there is a review by Allie Hazelwood on the cover. Absolutely love Allie Hazelwood, so gotta be good, right? All right, next up we have The Skeleton Key by Erin Kelly. What caught my eye with this book, other than the cover art, obviously, was the little phrase at the top. It says, "One book, 2 families, a lifetime of obsession." Something that I really look for in a fantasy read is being able to completely just disappear into another world and just kind of have that sense of escapism. And I think having what I'm hoping will be a like dual POV, kind of dual perspective, will really get me a better sense of the world, being able to see it through multiple different characters. So excited for that aspect, I'm hoping. But yeah, just curious to see what this one is all about. Finally, I picked up The Ruin of Kings by Jenn Lyons. Once again, don't know if I'm saying that last name right, so I apologize. Regardless, this book is what I picture when I think of a fantasy book. Just the dragon on the cover, kind of the whole vibes, the font of the title, everything about it to me just screams fantasy. Curious to see the dragon element in this one. Again, not something that I necessarily need in a fantasy book, but something that does help with that sense of escapism and just disappearing into a world that entirely is not like our own. So, excited for all these reads. All right, it is time. Go ahead, grab your coffee, grab your tea. It is time to get cozy with a book. Time to just curl up, disappear into another world. All right, I'm back. It is a little bit later now. I have made some progress reading The Courting of Bristol Keats. So far, it's really good, really capturing my attention. One thing that I'm noticing is a lot of similarities between this duology and the Akutar series. However, that's pretty much the only other romantasy fantasy that I've read. But what kind of really reminded me of it was mention of a cauldron that played kind of a big role in the Akutar series. So curious to see where it goes in this book. Don't know if it's going to play as big of a part. It's only been mentioned once, but that kind of started to like ring some alarm bells. So again, curious about that one. Something else I'm noticing about this book that don't know exactly what I think is the variability in chapter length. Sometimes a chapter will last like literally half a page. Other times I'll be reading for like 5 to 10 pages before I get to the end of the chapter. So I feel like that's just been disrupting the flow, which not a huge fan of, but other than that, I've really been enjoying the writing style. This book also takes place in the real world with the Fae world almost overlapping. There's portals that can take you back and forth between the two. Again, don't know if that's common for fantasy type books where they go into the fairy world, but I do like that element. I like how it's playing out in the story where the main character is able to still communicate and keep in touch with people from the human world and to see that overlap. I'm very curious to see where that goes in the future. We're really getting into the main, like her main hero's journey of the story. So pumped about that. Excited to see kind of her character arc and character development as the book goes. I am very curious to see how the author is able to do that. And again, it is a duology, which I found out halfway through reading this. So very pumped for that. Very excited. Good morning, guys. I decided to wake up early and read a little bit of The Courting of Bristol Keats. It's still really good, still enjoying it. The relationship between the two characters are kind of heating up, so pumped about that. Love the little bit of romantasy we have going on. Also, I love how the author has been able to dive more into the specifics of this world instead of just describing the fairy world in general. She did a really good job of just kind of introducing us to the Fae, especially for me as someone who's just getting into fantasy. Just kind of describing it in a general sense, giving us kind of an idea of what to expect. But now we're able to get into the specifics of this world, which has been awesome. Just to kind of see how this author envisions the fairy world and the Fae and all those just like little bit of magical elements. So, really enjoying it. can't wait to keep reading. Check back with you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, it has been a hot minute since I checked in. The end of my week got super busy, but it is now Saturday, which means I have had some time to read today. If you know anything about me and my reading habits, you should know that I cannot only read one book for long. I fall into the terrible habit of having at least 5 books that I'm currently reading. So I did cave and start another book before I finished The Courting of Bristol Keats. Let me grab it real quick. I started The Witches of Bone Hill by Ava Morgyn. So far, it is super good. Gives a lot more cozy fantasy vibes than The Courting of Bristol Keats. Very much just talking so far about two sisters, how they inherited property from their aunt, and just kind of dealing with what they're going to do with that property, kind of discovering some more about their family legacy and what it truly means to be a bone sister. So, curious about this one. Again, just really like the writing style of Ava Morgyn. Haven't read a full book by her yet, but the fact that 2 of her books caught my attention at the library gives some indication I think I'm really going to enjoy her. So, very excited for this read. But my goal for today, you guys need to hold me to this. I really want to finish The Courting of Bristol Keats. I have another long bus ride tomorrow, which means a lot of time for reading. So, I don't want to bring a book that I only have like less than 100 pages left in. So, I want to finish that one today so that tomorrow I can bring maybe The Witches of Bone Hill, might cave, start another book, start a third one, and might bring one of the other books that I picked up from the library. We shall see. That one is still to be determined, but I'm going to get to reading. I'm going to finish The Courting of Bristol Keats, and I will check back in with you guys when I'm done. It is now Monday, so happy Labor Day. We are off to a great start for this week. Got the day off of work, so I've just been kind of curled up reading. I did finish The Courting of Bristol Keats this weekend. It was phenomenal. I cannot stop thinking about it. I am super pumped for the next book to come out. I think it's only going to end up being a duology, but regardless, super excited to go back into this world, kind of see how it ends. There's a lot of unresolved plot lines currently, so want to get that all finished up. Unfortunately, the next book doesn't come out until later this month, but you bet as soon as it comes out, I will be getting it. Like I said, I've just kind of spent the morning reading. I woke up at about 7:30 without setting an alarm, so that felt amazing. I've been working on The Skeleton Key. First off, I am a total idiot. For some reason, I really thought this one was fantasy. The library that I got it from clearly marked on the side that it's a thriller. When I went to the library, I purposely picked up a thriller so I didn't only have fantasy to read. Was not expecting it to be a thriller somehow. Don't know how those dots didn't connect. Regardless, really good book. Not entirely giving fall vibes, which I'm a little bit disappointed about, but I have read, we're going to look real quick, about 250 pages, and I cannot put it down. So, despite my disappointment in it not being a fantasy book, clearly it's really good. Absolutely obsessed with the writing style. I don't know what it is, but the author is really just able to take you into this world, just kind of bring you into the main character's life and all the entanglements that she's gotten herself into coming from a famous family. So, again, really good read, very excited. I think I'm going to put this one down, however, take a little bit of a break and go back into one that is actually fantasy. So, I'm debating. I have Silver Elite or The Ruin of Kings that I think is what I want to read next. I think I want to do The Ruin of Kings just because it's like for sure, gotta be fantasy, right? So I think we're gonna get into that one next. I will check back in with you guys in a little bit and let you know how it's going. I really am terrible at reading only one book. So I did start Silver Elite. I made it about 20 pages in. Definitely starting to learn the difference between more urban fantasy and more high fantasy. Silver Elite is definitely more rural fantasy. There's a lot more technology. It also kind of reminds me of the beginning of Shatter Me, which I did end up DNFing. So that's not looking great for me finishing this book, but I do want to give it a chance. I'll try to make it at least 100 pages in, but we shall kind of see where the writing style takes us. I'll get back into it, but until then, I have started to read The Ruin of Kings. It is definitely more high fantasy. It's a dual perspective. It bounces back and forth between two different characters and their perspective of one story and how the main character came to be, how he became imprisoned. Kind of takes us through two different periods of his life from these two different perspectives, which is very curious. Makes it a little bit hard to keep track of. There are also a ton of footnotes in this book, which again makes it kind of hard to follow, especially for a new fantasy reader. However, the writing style is really good, and I am getting into this world. The author definitely just kind of drops you straight in. There's not a ton of context given. You're just kind of immediately plunged into all of the magic, all of the different rules, all of the different kingdoms and the ruling classes and all that. So, definitely fast paced. I don't want to put it down, so that's a good sign. But again, a little bit confusing. Don't know how much I'm going to be able to get out of this book, but enjoying the world so far. So I want to keep going and just kind of hope that I can kind of get better grasp of the world as I go. All right, I'll check back in with you guys here in a little bit. Good morning, guys. It is now Tuesday. Just wanted to pop in here and give you a quick update. Last night, I did finish The Skeleton Key. It was incredible. Part 5 had so many different twists and turns that I was just not ready for. Some of the characters did not see this ending this way. You just have to read it. Don't want to spoil anything, but it was incredible. I was kind of expecting like one, two, maybe like three different like crazy twists and turns. Dude, there were so many. Like every single character had something going on that I was not ready for, and just their relationships and the way that everything kind of blew up at the end. Oh, so good. For sure would recommend. Definitely not a fantasy read. Should have seen that one coming, but a really good thriller. Towards the end, kind of started to give slightly more fall vibes. Would not classify it necessarily as a fall read, but phenomenal book. Loved the writing style. I need to go on a deep dive, figure out more about what Erin Kelly has written, kind of go into her book list, see what else I can find by her, because oh my word, to disappear into another one of her worlds would be incredible. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. It is Tuesday, which means I want to get this video edited and uploaded for you all. I did not read as much as I wanted to this week, which is a good thing because for sure means a part 2 to this video. I think I want to get a Stephen King, and the one that's on my mind is Billy Summers. Just any Stephen King book is going to give horror, going to give definitely fall vibes. Probably we'll hold off till closer to the end of the month. Definitely want that to be more of an October read, but if I get around to it, not opposed to reading a Stephen King in September. I'll read a Stephen King any time of the year. Let's be real here. Maybe potentially also getting a Frida McFadden, again, on that thriller train after reading The Skeleton Key. So potentially picking one of hers up. That would be just another quick read. So we'll kind of see where this next video takes us. So I hope you guys subscribe, like this video, and check back in next week.